When converting decimals to percents and percents to decimals, I like to use DP. You can remember that by Dr. Pepper. The D is for the decimal, a P is for percent. So whenever we're changing a decimal to a percent, from D to P goes to the right, and it's always two places. Because what you're actually doing whenever you're changing a decimal to a percent is multiplying by 100, which is moving a decimal two places to the right. When you change a percent to a decimal, you go the opposite direction. You go P to D, which is to the left. And again, it's always moving the decimal two places because it's by 100, but this time you're dividing by 100. So changing a percent to a decimal goes to the left two places. So let's look at some examples of what I'm talking about. On my first example, I have 3/10. So this is a decimal that I'm going to change to a percent. So D to P, decimal to percent, goes to the right, and it's always two places. So I move my decimal two places to the right. It goes from here to here, but I don't have a number to put here, so I have to add a 0, or what I like to call putting an egg in the basket. So 3/10 now becomes 30% by moving that decimal two places to the right. So now let's look at our next example. We have 1 2/10. So we want to change this to a percent. Decimal to percent, D to P, goes two places to the right. D to P goes to the right, and it's always two places. So we go 1, 2 to the right. We put our decimal here instead of here. And again, we don't have enough numbers, so we have to put an egg in our basket or add a 0. So that 1.2 now becomes 120. So 1 2/10 is equivalent to 120%. Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to start with a percent and we're going to change it to a decimal. So P to D goes in the left direction. Okay, so first we have to figure out where a decimal is at. Well, in this percent, there's not a decimal. Remember, anytime there's not a decimal in the number, your decimal goes at the end of the number. So 7 has our decimal right here at the end. So P to D goes to the left two places. So 1, 2. Our decimal is going to end up there instead of there. And again, we don't have enough numbers, so we got to put an egg in that basket, or a 0. So that 7% now has a 0.07. So 7% is equivalent to 7/100ths. Okay, you can write it 0.07, or you can even add another egg in that basket, or a 0, and make it 0.07. Okay, so now looking at our next percent, we have a decimal inside there. So we start where that decimal's at. And again, P to D goes to the left two places. So 1, 2 places to the left. My decimal is now going to be there instead of there. And we got to put an egg in that basket or add a 0. So 12% is equivalent to 0.012 because our decimal is now there. And again, if you'd like to, you can add a 0 before that decimal. It's the same thing. So anytime you're changing decimal to percent, D to P goes to the right two places. Anytime you're changing percent to decimal, P to D goes to the left two places.